In West Virginia lies one of America's most haunted and beautiful buildings to ever be built. But the horrors that persisted inside were anything but beautiful. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum holds a significant history spanning nearly 130 years and continues to be made as paranormal investigators make their way through the winding halls, capturing evidence of the spirits that live there. Now, I'd like to give a quote by Dorothea Dix, who I will speak about in the episode, but I feel it's a fitting way to bring us into the history of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I come as the advocate of helpless, forgotten, insane men and women, of being sunk to a condition from which the unconcerned world would start with real horror. Join us today as we discuss the history and hauntings of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Everyone, welcome back to
Unknown,
Unsolved,
Unseen,
Triple U.
Woohoo! I am your ghoulishly spookish host, Frank.
You gotta tell me that we're doing that, because I just feel like I cannot come up with the word on the spot.
I'm just probably gonna say something every episode.
Isn't this the last episode of the Halloween
Yeah,
month?
but I'll find something.
Okay. I don't know.
But who are you, though?
I am Sage. I do know that.
All right, that's what I was looking for.
I am Sage, the equally as ghoulish, I guess.
Ghoulish and spookish, I think is what I said.
Yeah, whatever.
No other words? Are you a witching? Or witchy?
Maybe.
What about bitchy?
Definitely sometimes.
So, where are you taking us today?
Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia.
West Virginia! Also, you're telling me they're turning the asylums trans.
I knew you were going to do that, and I still hate you for it. It's ridiculous.
It's like when they turned the freaking frogs gay.
Sure.
If you guys are interested, this is right leading up to it. Actually, no, we have one more week until then, yeah. The Carbondalian Festival is still coming up. I would highly recommend going. Check them out. If not, even just check out their merch online, check out their Instagram, all the fun stuff. Really amazing time last year, and we're looking forward this year. We got a hotel for the night. We're going to go up there the 7th and the 8th, and we're going to have a wonderful, splendid time.
A spookin' time.
A spookin' time.
An out-of-this-world experience.
And also, it's spooky week. It's Halloween. All Hallows Eve.
Coming up.
You excited?
Yeah, you wearing a costume into work this year?
I don't know.
I think I might. I might wear my Renaissance dress that I wore.
I saw 2 other people on Instagram wear it.
Spirit Halloween is popular, my friend. I don't know what else to tell you.
There is now 5, including you, 5 people I've seen with it.
Yeah, it's because we're not original.
I think it is time to get into this. Actually, wait, maybe I should ask of the book club if we're supposed to wear costumes for Halloween.
Okay.
Book club this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I should check that. Besides that, that's all I had to say. Actually, real quick, here's a message from a friend.
Places in America where the road goes quiet, where legends still breathe, and where the line between truth and folklore blurs. From haunted highways and cryptid sightings to stories that have echoed through generations, State of the Unknown takes you deep into the shadows of America's strangest corners. Hosted by Rob, this documentary-style podcast blends immersive storytelling with real research to uncover the tales that refuse to fade. If you like your mysteries murky and your folklore just a little too real, you might already be living in the state of the unknown. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, thanks for listening to that message, guys.
I have one announcement. We'll have a couple announcements before we begin. For starters, trigger warnings. There's going to be talk of hauntings, obviously, demons, sexual assault, really like horrific, basically torture methods of how they treated patients here. I do believe that there is also death of a mother in childbirth, and then death of children as well. The other announcement that I have is that it is Allegheny, not Allegheny, for anyone who's asking.
Still trans, though?
Sure, but it's definitely Allegheny. The G is silent. This is like lasagna.
Lagner.
That's not even close to how you spell lasagna.
Yeah, but that's in something I saw.
All right.
That's a old Garfield thing where it's like, John, I have come for some Lagner. It's a dumb video.
It sounds like it.
I'm familiar with internet shitpost. You are not.
Nope.
I'm well versed in it, but
No.
are you ready to take us to West Virginia? Mount Mama.
Is that going to get us copyrighted?
Nah, I just think it's shittily enough that I don't think I'll get caught.
Okay.
Take me home.
All right, you can stop now.
These country roads.
That is not the lyrics, but all right. Yeah,
I'm messing up to keep those things.
Keep the copyright off your back.
Yeah.
Right. So today, like I said, we're going to be traveling to West Virginia. So not super far from us, but far enough that we haven't yet made a trip out here, but I really want to discuss the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Before I get into the history of that, I do want to bring back some history about how mental health is treated, and some major movements prior to that, as this is similar to the Ohio State Reformatory in that this was for individuals who they considered insane, which is the words of the time. So mental health, despite its prevalence today, has always been something that's been controversial in its treatment. Now, today, people think that mental health is, quote, woke, and that certain things like schizophrenia or autism did not exist 50 or so years ago. However, we know through significant research on historic practices that these disorders were in existence, likely seen as something different or more of hysteria and affliction, things they couldn't cure.
Look, I didn't see so much diabetes being diagnosed in the 1600s. Therefore, it probably from something between now and then. I didn't see much, autism then, too. Sure, we couldn't diagnose it, but therefore it means it did not exist. God.
Once again, your Grandpa Joe's coin collection that he won't part with, fucking autism. So it's been around. But one of the this was just some fun facts I threw in here. One of the earliest known methods of treating mental illness was called trephination, going back several thousand years ago. It was when surgeons, at least the past version of surgeons, would drill or cut a piece of the skull out to remove pressure from the brain, which is something we still do in practice today, obviously under, supervision from medical professionals. And I think they can return the piece back whenever you're done, or like they make some kind of mesh covering that allows the bone to grow back.
Let me just unscrew your skull real quick.
Essentially. But when it was first introduced, it was a popular way of getting rid of, or, quote, curing headaches, mental health disorders, or even demonic possessions.
You know what? They're just ahead of their time.
A little bit. Bloodletting. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a popular treatment around the 1600s because people believed that illnesses were caused by an imbalance in the body. And the best way to do that to get rid of that, would be to drain the body of the impurities. Best way to do that was through releasing blood from the body.
Now, how would you release this blood through the body? Are we talking like cutting them and like let it come out, or take it out with like an actual needle and like tube, or leeches?
This was the 1600s. There's not needle and tubes.
There's needles in the 1600s.
Not the way that you think about it today, where they're going to easily pull blood like that. I would assume it was more of a open wound.
I was going to think leeches.
Or
People still do leeches today.
Yeah, it's a holistic practice.
Damn bloodsuckers, those invertebrate vampires. You know, if a vampire doesn't have a spine to stick up to you, it's just a leech at that point. It's a fact. Leeches don't have backbones.
Okay, thank you for the knowledge.
Vampire fun facts with Frank.
Didn't realize that I was going to also be getting knowledge today when I was,
Did you not know that about leeches?
No, I never cared. I still don't.
Wow. I can let you know also that not all leeches drink blood. Some eat snails.
Obviously, throughout history, humans found that these were not the appropriate ways to treat mental health.
Oh, no shit.
It likely because people were dying or becoming permanently disabled.
Wow, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, so the field was attempting to become more humane in its treatment, and thus the invention of institutions and asylums was completed.
Have we ever gone to that more humane state yet?
What?
Have we gotten to that more humane, state of treating people yet?
Yeah, we treat people more humane now. What do you mean?
Humane enough?
For the most part.
Okay.
This was an ideal method of dealing with mental illness because it was a place that could house the individuals for treatment and allow them to get around-the-clock treatment. However, for many of society, it was also a convenient way of isolating the mentally ill. But let us not forget that these were human beings, much like ourselves, who would end up dealing with many years of inhumane treatment where they were sometimes chained up, unclothed, and treated like animals. Therefore, as we go forward in discussing the asylum, please keep in mind that, again, these were people's loved ones. They did not deserve to experience the horrors that they did. I am always going to make an announcement like this. Working in this field, our goal isn't, we have an ethical obligation to do our best work and to treat our clients and our patients with the utmost sincerity, respect, all of that shit. That's not happening here. So I just want to make it 100% clear for anyone listening, I don't condone anything in here. I also don't condone the use of the term crazy, insane, lunatic, whatever. I'm not a big fan of things like that. The R word, not a fan of. I will use some of those words in here because it was the language of the time. Obviously, in the name, it's a lunatic asylum, but that's not my language. But it's of the time, it's relevant. That is the only reason I'm saying it. So here's where I will introduce Dorothea Dix. She's who I quoted in the intro. She's credited with creating a social movement of such increased proportions that she changed mental health treatment as it was known. Dorothea was a teacher, a nurse, and a social reformer, best known for her commitment to improving the treatment of those with mental illnesses in the 19th century. Born the eldest of 3 children in Maine in 1802 to an abusive alcoholic father and a mentally unstable mother, she took it upon herself to raise her 2 infant brothers and consequently had no childhood of her own. Despite little formal education, she was intellectually gifted and driven, opening a private school in Worcester, Massachusetts, at age 15, where she taught young girls at a time when there was little to no educational opportunities available to females. 5 years later, she would open a similar school in Boston. While Dorothea was heavily involved in her community, it wasn't until 1841, when she went to visit a local jail in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that she started to find what would become her calling. At the jail, she saw that the mentally ill inmates were chained naked to stone walls in cells without heat or ventilation. The horror of what she witnessed inspired what was to become a lifelong crusade to improve the treatment of the mentally ill. She managed to gain the attention of the Massachusetts state legislature, which authorized funds to improve the dreadful conditions she exposed to the public. Following her success in Massachusetts, she traveled extensively to other U.S. states, as well as Europe and Asia, observing and exposing similar barbaric conditions and spurring worldwide improvements in the treatment of those with mental health disorders, or at the time what they would be considered insane. The first state hospital for the mentally ill was built and opened in Trenton, New Jersey in 1848, making Dorothea's dreams and hard work a reality. This would be the first asylum built following the plan of Thomas Kirkbride, who I will talk about here shortly, and who she worked closely with throughout her career. Ultimately, the weight of all of her work with those who were severely mentally ill took a toll on Dorothea, both physically and mentally. She suffered several debilitating breakdowns during her lifetime and eventually admitted herself to the same Trenton hospital that she helped to open. She was given a private apartment where she spent the remaining 6 years of her life, dying there in 1887. Her activism led to the establishment of over 30 hospitals dedicated to the treatment of the mentally ill across the United States and internationally. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was a direct result of her work to establish separate institutions for the mentally ill. leading to better facilities and more humane treatment compared to the overcrowded and often abusive conditions in prisons. While not directly involved in its design, her work created the momentum and the philanthropic and political will to build better, more humane facilities for treating mental illness, which was a significant shift from the inhumane conditions previously seen in prisons and asylums. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum began its construction in late 1858, following approval by the Virginia General Assembly. It was built on a pre-approved parcel of land near the West Fork River, which at the time was still considered to be a part of the state of Virginia, as West Virginia did not exist yet. The construction was initially done by prison laborers, including getting the materials from nearby areas such as the Blue Sandstone Quarry, located in what is now Mount Clair, West Virginia. Since this sandstone was difficult to work with and wouldn't likely be able to be done by prison laborers, the assembly actually brought in skilled stonemasons from Germany and Ireland to work on the construction of the massive asylum complex.
Damn. What year again?
This is 1858.
And they're bringing... Actually, no, man, that's more time when we were more acceptable bringing people in like that to work.
Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum remains the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America, and the second largest of its kind, behind only the Kremlin.
Gross.
That's Russia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck the Kremlin.
The other day, my grandma wrapped a headscarf around her head while we were at the football game, and they called her a babushka. And I was like, did I get that right? And then I looked it up, and I was right. It's a term for grandma, specifically for women who wear scarves around their head. I don't know why that's the only thing I know from Russia.
Oh, you know, the Kremlin. Fuck them.
That's like their White House, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did they call it the Kremlin, I guess? I thought the Kremlin was like his government.
I mean, it is like the government, the Kremlin.
Well, the White House isn't the government.
They have a very different government than us. They have a dictatorship.
I'm giving Frank.
I know. We're on our way there. We're on our way there, but we're not there just yet.
Yeah.
We just got a few more hurdles to get through, which seem more and more likely by the day.
Things were going to plan with its construction until, this like really important piece of American history that started in 1861.
Wonder what happened in 1861.
Yeah, the American Civil War.
What was that fought over? Slavery.
Following the secession of the state of Virginia from the United States on April 17, 1861, the state government demanded the return of the funds that were not used yet so that the war efforts could be financed. However, before the funds could be returned, the 7th Ohio Volunteer Infantry, an infantry regiment formed in northeastern Ohio for service in the Union Army, stole the money from a local bank and delivered it to Wheeling, which is now also a part of West Virginia. It was set aside for the Virginia government, which was now considered the restored government of Virginia, who was still loyal to the Union at the time and were not okay with seceding. These funds were meant to be a startup treasury for what would become a new Union state. But in 1862, the funds were reallocated back to the hospital for its continued construction. Obviously, this was still during the wartime, but despite that, construction was still attempted, though in reality, the grounds and the buildings were often occupied by both the Union and Confederate militaries, and building supplies were raided by Confederate raiders and stolen. By 1863, West Virginia was admitted as a state to the U.S., and so the hospital was renamed from Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum to the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane. The first patients were admitted in October of 1864, but construction would continue into 1881, where a 200-foot central clock tower was completed in 1871, and separate rooms for Black people were completed in 1873. The asylum was designed by architect Richard Andrews and was based on the Kirkbride Plan, which was a 19th century model for mental health facilities that emphasized fresh air, natural light, and the therapeutic power of the environment. Dr. Thomas Kirkbride was a doctor who was originally interested in getting a residency at the Philadelphia Hospital, one of the most prestigious in the country in the 1820s and 30s. However, he was turned down and given a position at a Quaker-run Family Friends Hospital for the Insane called Friends Asylum for the Insane, which was on the outskirts of the Philadelphia area. Here he would witness the staff humanely treating the patients, and he was very impressed at their progressiveness. After accepting his dream position later at the Philadelphia Hospital in 1833, he thought he would never return to working with the insane. However, all his hard work at the hospital and in his own private practice paid off. He was offered the position of the superintendent of Philadelphia Hospital for the Insane in 1840. He would spend the next 43 years of his life working with those and for those who were deemed insane by societal and medical standards. The design that Trans-Allegheny is based off of, again, was developed by Kirkbride, whose vision was to move patients from overcrowded city jails and almshouses, where patients were often chained to the walls in cold, dark cells. He realized that there were more and more mental health patients needing treatment facilities, not enough or enough healthy spaces for them to be. He wanted to move them to a rural environment where the grounds were, quote, tastefully ornamented, and buildings were arranged to resemble a shallow V if viewed from above. Laying it out this way allowed for each room to have access to sunlight and cross ventilation, which allowed the building to be promoted as having a, quote, curative effect. Or as Kirkbride phrased it, quote, a special apparatus for lunacy.
I was going to make a comment on it, and then you mentioned that. I'm like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to mention how, like, you know, like Waverly Hills Sanatorium and other places, they try and invoke a certain, like, atmosphere with their construction, whether, like, thinking it will help with healing or whatnot, because you remember that Waverly Hills. Mm-hmm. And then you go and said that line there.
Well, that's essentially what he was trying to do.
I know, but say that line again.
A special apparatus for lunacy.
Special apparatus for lunacy. I find that, first off, just it sounds funny, sounds goofy, but also, like, at the same time sounds not okay.
Oh yeah, definitely not. The facilities were designed to be entirely self-sufficient by providing the patients with a variety of outlets for activities that would stimulate the patient's mental and physical well-being. This setup influenced the construction of over 300 similar mental health facilities throughout North America. However, the 20th century brought changes in treatment philosophy, deinstitutionalization, and more community-based treatment. The theory of, quote, buildings as a cure was largely discredited, and the expense of maintaining the facilities, combined with their physical deterioration, forced most of them to be abandoned. Many were ultimately demolished. That did not stop Kirkbride from being seared into the history of treating the mentally ill, as he was a founding member of the Association of Medical Superintendents of American Institutions of the Insane, and served as its president for 8 years. In 1854, Kirkbride published On the Construction, Organization, and General Arrangements of Hospitals for the Insane, which was quickly recognized as the definitive work on the subject and secured his reputation as one of the leading experts in the treatment of mentally ill. Kirkbride's work had a profound effect on his personal life as well. He survived an assassination attempt by one of his patients.
How did they go about trying to assassinate him?
I did not read about that, to be honest with you.
That's just...
You're welcome to look it up if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up later. I'm curious on, like, I mean, if they just, like, charge at him with, like, a knife or a makeshift knife, or it was like you're out of the asylum and then you're going to kill him.
I don't know. And then he married and raised a family member with a different patient. That's unethical, bro.
Yeah, I know. I took a moment to be like, I'm like, a patient. Yeah, that's not okay, bud.
No.
You know, have we run into this yet on unethical relationships or no?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head. But Kirkbride died in Philadelphia on December 16th, 1883. He had been working in the mental health field for quite some time at that point, 60 years or so. As I mentioned earlier, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was, just like Kirkbride's plan, was intended to be self-sufficient. It had a farm, a dairy, waterworks, and a cemetery all located on the grounds. A gas well was drilled on the hospital grounds in 1902, adding more and more self-sufficiency. It spans nearly 1,300 feet in length, which is over half a mile, and sits on a lot of 600 acres. The hospital was originally designed to house 250 patients in solitude. Patients were admitted for a variety of reasons, including asthma, so fuck me, I guess, laziness, also fuck me, egotism, domestic troubles, and even greediness. A 1938 survey committee organized by a group of North American medical organizations found that the asylum also housed, quote, epileptics, alcoholics, drug addicts, and non-educable mental defectives.
I mean, these words just like, okay.
This was
I know,
so 1938.
It's like, I have to kind of like think of what they're trying to say sometimes.
Yeah. Other sources cite that potential diagnoses that could lead to admittance to the asylum were also imaginary female trouble, jealousy and religion, bad whiskey, political excitement, and other random-ass experiences that someone may have had. These abstract diagnoses led to an overwhelming...
Political excitement. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
What?
Yep.
I'm excited about my political party. But you know what? Today...
That would also be a fuck me moment.
A lot of people today would be off to the loony bin then.
Yes. The abstract diagnoses led to an overwhelming number of patients being admitted. Obviously, if you're admitting them for things like imaginary female trouble. What the fuck?
Man, only if I can get a vacation for my wife. I think I'm having some imaginary female trouble.
I don't even know what that would mean. Like, are we talking...
I think my wife's kind of crazy, guys.
Like hysteria? Or like what?
Guys, I got a crazy wife here. Someone please save me.
Can you think of a better word than crazy?
I got a... What did they call them back then?
Lunatic?
I got a lunatic wife, guys. Help me out.
Wow.
Delirious woman syndrome.
So this...
No,
I'm just ignoring you.
Wow. Thanks. That's why you have delirious woman syndrome, and I gotta send you to the bin.
Actually, I'm just imaginary. You're having imaginary female trouble right now.
So, okay, if you're saying you're imaginary, would that mean people are listening to me pretend to have a conversation with somebody else and it's just quiet for every time I'm not talking? When we did actually have 2 of those episodes, but your mic wasn't working.
It was working. You could hear me.
You could hear you through mine.
Yeah, but I wasn't like it was silent.
Yeah, I know. That's the closest I've gotten to having an imaginary conversation, including also, actually, there was Friday this weekend where I was like sleeping and I was kind of like dreaming but half awake. And I said something in my sleep talk and you were like, huh? I'm like, oh, sorry, I was dreaming.
You're like, I was talking to you in my sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. But so the overwhelming number of patients that were admitted caused the asylum to face a huge shortage of staff and beds. So what started out as only being able to house 200 people in single rooms, by 1880, so this was 16 years since patients were first admitted, the hospital was then serving 717 patients, 1,661 in 1938, over 1,800 in 1949, and over 2,600 in the peak of its overcrowdedness in the 1950s. It was only supposed to hold 200.
You know, that's just like a little bit overcrowded.
Yeah. Due to overcrowding, there weren't enough staff members to be able to corral the patients, keep the peace, and maintain their own patients. Not patients as in people, but patients as in being patient, I guess. I don't know what a synonym for that would be. Being calm, waiting. So patients became incredibly violent, started attacking one another, attacking the staff, and there were even some patients that would kill other patients as well as the staff.
I love patient-on-patient violence. Like, what the fuck?
There's a story of a nurse who was killed by a patient. She was originally only reported to be missing, not dead, until they found her body at the bottom of a stairwell months later.
Months?
Yep, you heard that right.
Was nobody checking this? So, hold on, was the body there the entire time? Or was she put there right before discovery?
I don't know. I don't have information. I mean, this is like in late 1800s. I don't have a whole lot of information.
Yeah, because I hate to be like that guy. Like, very big difference there.
Yeah, insane. There's also another story that states that there were 2 patients who hung another one by a bedsheet. Unfortunately, which I think this is related to one of the ghost things I'm going to talk about later. So keep that thought in mind.
Okay.
Unfortunately, much like the other buildings of its kind, it started to come into disarray because of the costs that were needed to maintain it. A series of reports done by the Charleston Gazette in 1949 found that poor sanitation and insufficient furniture, lighting, and heating in much of the complex, well, one wing, which had been rebuilt using the Works Progress Administration funds following a 1935 fire started by a patient, was reportedly luxurious, i.e., the newer part was nicer and the older parts were not. So the lack of proper care and access to sanitation led to a large number of deaths at the Trans-Allegheny. While the official count is not available due to, a variety of factors, including simply poor record keeping from the 1800s, there are currently still research studies underway to determine an accurate death count. The estimate by hospital experts and historian Titus Swan is in or above the 5-figure range, so above 10,000 in its history. Trans-Allegheny, like I said earlier, has not always been called that. It had a second name change in 1902, where it was changed to the Weston State Hospital. While initially built to be a humane way to treat those who struggle with mental health conditions, it would not remain that way for very long. Insulin coma therapy was a popular method in the 1930s of treating mental illness. It was changing a patient's insulin levels, as in placing them into diabetic comas, which if I can recall correctly, is when you are in hyperglycemia or ketoacidosis, which is like super high blood sugar, or when you're getting hypoglycemia, which is super low blood sugar. Medical professionals at the time believed that the brain could be rewired and cure their illness while in a coma. However, as you can probably guess, these diabetic comas would have intense side effects, including permanent brain damage, prolonged comas, and death.
Oh, I love side effect death.
Yep. Another popular treatment was metrazole therapy, though it had disastrous results. It was believed that if you could medically induce seizures in schizophrenic patients, that this would help them to calm down and lighten their symptoms. The only thing that patients truly got out of it was fractured bones and torn muscles from the convulsions. And I'm sure there were other side effects from that as well. This was my favorite part when I was researching this. So I know that, you're here for the spooky stuff, of course, and I will get to the spooky stuff. But I think it's important to talk about the history of these places before we go into the spooky stuff. Because, they're deserving of the time and space for that. This was my favorite part to research. So, in the early 1950s, Weston State Hospital found itself to be home of the West Virginia Lobotomy Project. This was an effort by the state of West Virginia and Walter Freeman. Walter Freeman was an American physician who claimed that he specialized in lobotomy, a discredited form of neurosurgical treatment for psychiatric or neurological disorders that involves severing most of the connections to and from the brain's prefrontal cortex and the anterior back part of the frontal lobes of the brain.
You know what they say? Lobotomy time.
The purpose of the operation was to reduce the symptoms of mental health disorders, and it was recognized that this was accomplished at the expense of a person's personality and intellect. Following the operation, spontaneity, responsiveness, self-awareness, and self-control were greatly reduced. Activity was replaced by inertia, and people were mostly left emotionally blunted and restricted in their intellectual range. Freeman wanted to simplify lobotomies so that it could be carried out by psychiatrists in psychiatric hospitals, where there were often no operating rooms, no surgeons, or anesthesia, and very limited budgets. So he invented the transorbital lobotomy procedure.
Is this the same as the ice pick lobotomy?
Yep. So the transorbital approach involved placing an orbitoclast, which is an instrument resembling an ice pick, under the eyelid and against the top of the eye socket. A mallet was then used to drive the orbitoclast through the thin layer of bone and into the brain. Freeman's transorbital lobotomy method did not require a neurosurgeon and could be performed outside of an operating room, often by untrained psychiatrists without the use of anesthesia, by using electroconvulsive therapy to induce seizures and ultimately unconsciousness. Not only was his goal to accommodate the aforementioned limited budgets, but also it would reduce severe overcrowding in asylums by more of the patients being able to be released back into the community. It would only take just a few years for society and medical practitioners to realize how barbaric this procedure was and how dangerous it was for patients. Did you know that Rose Kennedy had a lobotomy?
Yeah, I know. We talked about this before.
This is like one of my favorite history facts. So for those of you who don't know, obviously we had President JFK who was assassinated. He had a younger sister. Her name was Rose. Thought to be likely autistic, or she had some sort of childhood impulse disorder, things like that. Her parents paid for her to have lobotomy. I believe it was done by this guy or someone this guy trained. It didn't work the way that they thought it would, and they ended up institutionalizing her for the rest of her life. I believe she lived to be into her 80s. And if I recall correctly, they never told the siblings what happened to her, and just basically pretended that she didn't exist and then she died, which is really fucking sad.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So in the few years that this happened to be in practice, she was one of them that it was done to.
How many is a few years?
I'm pretty sure that it was only from like early 1950s to very early 1960s. Not a lot. And by the 1980s, the hospital had obviously stopped performing lobotomies, but it was able to reduce its population due to changes in how mental illness was treated. Patients who could not be controlled were just simply locked into cages. And then I wrote, yep, you heard that right. It's the 1980s and we were locking people into cages. Sweet. Because we're still doing that.
Yeah. We're talking about like...
Immigrants.
Okay, I was talking about that, or actual people with mental health issues, because we still do that. And with just
we
people
don't necessarily
who...
lock them into like actual cages.
Yeah, in some places still in this country we do.
Where?
Places that do not care about people with mental health, because stuff is very still state by state.
Okay, but like, can you give me an actual example?
No, I don't have enough actual ones. Actually, I don't want to get political, but there are some recent ones of people who have mental health episodes. They take them in, they rough them up, and then they leave them out to die. There's a real recent one.
I know about.
That's what I'm referencing, like that type of stuff.
Okay, well, that's a little different than locking into cages. Just as fucking bad, if not worse. But
I just didn't want to get political on this, but if you want, we can.
No, it's okay. We're good there. In 1986, then Governor Arch Moore announced his plans to build a new psychiatric facility elsewhere in the state and turn the asylum into a prison. Moore authorized work to begin on the prison conversion, but the state found the move to be unconstitutional and the work was suspended. Ultimately, the new facility, the William R. Sharp Jr. Hospital, was built in Weston, and the old Weston State Hospital closed in May 1994. The closure came by court order, due in part to a class action lawsuit filed by family members of patients. Unfortunately, though, closing in 1994 did not bring back the thousands of lives that were lost at the asylum, and many attribute these deaths to why it is considered one of America's and probably the world's most haunted locations. Despite likely having over 5 figures of deaths within its walls, it does appear that the majority of souls have passed over to the other side. Unfortunately, though, not all of them have been able to do that.
Yeah, sounds like there's quite a few that haven't.
Yeah. According to different ghost hunting groups, there appears to be at least a couple different fully fledged spirits that roam the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. So I'll start with the ones that are pretty more definitive. And then I did find a really great Reddit post from someone that worked there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what he says as well, because he had a lot of different experiences. And so here's your spooky.
Yay.
So they separate them into like good, bad, and like kind of bad. I'm going to start with the good. Probably one of the most well-known spirits that reside in the asylum is that of a little girl named Lily, who appears to have lived at the asylum but was not a patient there, making her history different from the majority of people who entered this stone building. The story of her life goes that she was born in the asylum after her mother was admitted after the Civil War, unaware that she was pregnant at the time of admittance. Reportedly, her mother's name was Gladys, and she was raped by Civil War soldiers, which severely impacted her mental health, which led to her admittance to the asylum. Unfortunately, Gladys would end up passing away during Lily's birth, and this left the nurses and staff liable for taking care of her. While the staff and nurses did their best, that doesn't mean they could protect Lily from all of life's hardships. And at age 9, Lily would contract pneumonia and die at the asylum since she had no other known locations that, she was ever at. Or when visiting the asylum, many visitors leave toys for her to play with, and many swear that they have seen left behind toys move while they've been on tours. Which I think is very sweet, that people want to leave her toys for her to play with so she's not bored.
I like when they do things like that.
Yep. There's also a story about a woman who was touring the asylum with a group where she began to have a conversation with a little girl who seemed lost. The woman attempted to convince the little girl to join the group so that later they could find her family when the tour was ending. Looking ahead, likely to see where the group was going, and if she could help spot who the little girl was looking for, she was ultimately surprised when she turned around a moment later and the girl had completely vanished. Everyone in the group denied having a little girl that fit that description, so many believe that she saw the ghost of Lily. There is another conventionally good spirit at Trans-Allegheny, whom many have named Elizabeth. She is known to roam the hallways of the asylum, presumably looking for someone to care for, as she was thought to be a nurse. However, there is very little information about Elizabeth, so there are very few stories about her. Additionally, there's another ghost, either named James or Jesse. This was depending on what you read and who you ask. I saw it like equal number of times between different sources. So James or Jesse was also a prior resident of the asylum. He is said to have passed away via heart attack while in the bathroom of one of the higher floor's rooms. There is also very little known about him. I'm not sure who he was or if there's more information from there. The bad. Unfortunately, as with all other hauntings at places like this, the asylum was home to some pretty vicious human beings.
Are we going to have a creeper?
It's like a creeper, I would say, yeah.
I hate to be that guy, but every place like this has a creeper.
Yeah. This one I feel like has a direct connection to someone that lived there, though. It appears that the asylum was home to many criminals, but especially murderers. Nicknamed Big Jim and David, two patients who some have claimed as to be criminally insane and sadistic.
Did you say
Big Jim?
Big Jim. That name just does not give me
creepy vibes?
No.
Yes, it's Big Jim and David.
The Big Jim over there.
Mm-hmm.
Beware, Big Jim.
So they were claimed as being criminally insane and sadistic. That's why they were brought to the mental health hospital rather than to a prison. And they're also known for several attempts to hang another patient.
Like fact known to?
Yep.
Or, okay.
They tried to, one dude. Just one dude. Name's Dean.
What the hell Dean do?
I don't know. They tried to hang him multiple times. It didn't work, and so they resorted to something far more sinister. Trigger warning for some very graphic details about death. Skip ahead about 30 seconds if you don't want to hear about it. They forced the patient, again, who I saw named Dean, to put his head underneath a bedpost, and then proceeded to get onto the bed and jump on it repeatedly, ultimately killing him in a horrifically brutal fashion by smashing his head in with the bedpost.
Jeez.
Yep. Dean is known to be a quiet spirit who has spoken just a few times to some visitors. However, anytime the large, dark shadows of Big Jim and David come around, Dean seems to disappear. With what, sounds like a pretty good reason to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, you get the fuck out of there. Big Jim is a fucking dick.
Yeah. It is said that when these two shadows show up, life and energy is sucked out of the room, and the vibes in the room change so much that some people feel ill and incredibly uncomfortable. Both murderers, again, were acclaimed as criminally insane and included in the asylum's top 10 most dangerous men. And yet somehow they had access to Dean.
I feel like proper precautions were 100% not fucking taken, and that's why he died.
For sure.
That's insane.
Literally. Unfortunately for the patients, as well as some who dare to investigate the asylum, Big Jim and David are not the only evil spirits. Another evil spirit is known only as Slewfoot, and has yet to be connected to any known patients or staff. Supposedly, he was known to be a horrific murderer who would kill people in the upstairs bathroom. They say he still roams the upper floors to this day and haunts that same bathroom. According to some, though I really couldn't figure out why, when he's in ghostly form, you don't want to cross paths with Slewfoot. I would consider him to be closest to the creeper, I would say. Yes, we don't really have a direct connection to a patient that lived there, but we do know there was somebody in that specific bathroom that this guy seems to be seen in that was murdering people up there. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I saw. And now for the less bad.
Oh, good.
On the first floor, there was a female patient named Ruth. She resided in the Civil War wing with the veterans from the war. And according to her legend, she hated men with such an unbelievable rage, and yet she lived in the same ward as them. And to this day, some people say that she will throw things at men who are investigating the asylum if she is given the chance to do so.
What if I throw things back at her, huh?
It might go right through her, Frank.
Ghosts. They're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, is that the wrong term to use? They're wild. Ghosts are
I
wild.
would say wild. It's probably better.
Yeah, you ever see them in Phasmophobia just throwing shit everywhere?
It's a poltergeist. Since the asylum was open during the Civil War, when the war ended, many of the soldiers were admitted into the hospital. They were put in a wing that was called the Civil War Wing. That's where Ruth resided. And most of them ended up dying in the hospital. And many believe that some still haunt the halls because there has been some people who have seen soldiers in what appears to be Civil War uniforms.
So, okay, so people do see like full body apparitions.
Yeah, for the most part. Full body, upper half kind of thing. Some additional brief reports. There's been sounds of disembodied voices, cries, and faint knocking. There's also been shadows and shadow figures, including tall and misshapen ones, as well as doppelganger apparitions of visitors. Can you imagine a doppelganger who's a ghost?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of that.
Doppelgangers themselves are scary.
No, thank you.
And then objects move on their own. There's a lot of doors that might slam, and there has also been evidence of glass breaking. And then lots of people have reported feelings of being pulled or touched or scratched.
Okay. So a lot of your typical things.
Yeah.
Is there anything like unique to this place that you don't see in other places? Because you got your shadow figures, your apparitions, you're getting touched, feeling cold and whatnot, feeling the presence, and you have voices and whatnot, EVPs. Are there any like special, unique things that happen at places, or like very specific things?
I mean, I have direct accounts from someone who worked there for a decade.
Okay,
that I can show you.
I'm interested in that.
Some of them are probably closer to the things that we're used to seeing, but there are some that like are pretty interesting.
Yeah, because like some places, you know, you go to this place in the building, you'll expect to have this, like you talked about Ruth, and then Big Jim, Dean, and what was the last guy? James?
It was Dean, David, and Big Jim.
Okay,
Big Jim
David.
and David killed Dean.
Okay. Well, yeah, I knew that. I just couldn't figure out David's so forgettable when you got Big Jim and Dean. Big Jim and the other guy.
I'm not sorry, David, that you're forgettable, because you were also just as much of a dick as Big Jim.
You just wanted to live in Big Jim's shadow, and guess what? Now you are a shadow.
Oh, burn!
Yeah, take that.
Damn.
Take that, David and Big Jim.
Frank coming out here with the full force punches to the fucking shadow figures.
You're getting dissed a state away and a like century away too.
Pretty much, but you know, we got him. Ladies and gentlemen,
we got him.
Yep. So some of the stories that come from the asylum are from those who worked there, but mostly as tour guides, showing visitors the history and hauntings of the Institute, not necessarily people that worked there while it was open. Because remember, it didn't close until 1994. So there's people alive today who worked and lived in this hospital. I just didn't...
Say again, when did it close?
1994.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What did it get closed for?
It like was just dilapidated and falling apart, and they're because of the style of building being like the stonemasonry and stuff, and with how much because of the shape of the V too, like sun damage, wind damage, things like that were worse.
I'm happy whenever they can like preserve it, because when we went to Waverly Hills, a lot of the original structures are gone.
Yeah,
Waverly Hills was a large campus.
Well, this is 600 acres.
This one, we stole the whole campus, right?
I believe so.
And like Moundsville Penitentiary, we have almost the whole place except for, what was burned down in a riot, and they're still trying to figure out what that all was.
Yeah, but someone did buy it, which I'll go into later when I get more towards today's stuff.
I'm just curious because I know it's all up in the air.
For a long time, for at least over a decade, it kind of sat vacant, didn't really have anything. Someone did buy it in 2007, though.
Turn it into apartments.
And I'll talk about it then.
If it got
turned it into apartments.
Would you live there if it got turned into apartments?
Only if it was fucking $5 a month.
$10 a month, take it or leave it.
I could do 10.
$10?
No utilities. The utilities are included. So is the Wi-Fi. So there was one guide who worked there for about a decade, and he shared his experiences on Reddit. So I'm going to read you his experiences, and then there's a few comments on that post too that I thought were pretty interesting that I'm just going to hop over and read what those people wrote, kind of word for word. So he writes that one night he was with a few other people. They had a light with them that they were using as they walked through, because obviously it's nighttime and dark. He reported that he watched, quote, the perfect silhouette of a man from head to hip walk through the light from left to right. He shared that he said something to his peers, and they watched as, quote, an arm and hand moved into the light from the right side. After running into the room to see if anyone was there, or if they could explain the phenomenon, he realized there was no one in there, and that the room was 7 feet off the ground, so it's not like anyone could have been looking in the window and creating that silhouette as well. Another night, he and another guide were conducting a conversation with any nearby spirits using a spirit box in one of the many rooms of the asylum. Again, for anyone who doesn't know, this is a device that gives off radio frequencies that ghosts can allegedly use to form audible words.
It's like, it also typically they filter through radio frequencies, so you will get in there, like typically radio stations.
Yeah.
Like when we did it one time, I heard the word Toyota. Like, no way a ghost is telling me to get the new Toyota, whatever.
Yeah. For most of the night, they were hearing nothing but static until one word popped out from the rest of the white noise. What do you think that word was?
I was just going to say something stupid, but I assume you want me to say something serious.
Give me both answers.
Hamburger.
Definitely not that.
Die.
No. Close though.
Death?
No.
Fuck.
The spirit box said evil.
Man, I was on the right track with hamburger.
So the coworker then's like frantically trying to get them out of the room, right? She explains once they they run from the room, get to the end of the hallway or whatever. Here she's like, they're trying to catch their breath, the two of them. And she says, I heard the sounds of feet shuffling by the doorway. And so I asked the spirit if the person who was making the noise was nice. And immediately when she asked that is when the spirit box said evil. And she was like, and I got I wanted my ass out of there. So,
what do you think would have happened?
I don't know, but he had enough, whatever it was, had enough energy. And I say he, presumably that was, men.
It makes me think of that. I don't know why. I'm assuming you've never heard of it. I'm looking up right now where we can watch it. And I'm assuming you probably won't want to watch it. The movie Grave Encounters.
No. What's it about?
It's found footage. A group goes to film like an old, let me see. Oh, it's Canadian. They go into a locked, abandoned psychiatric hospital to film ghostly stuff, and the ghosts kill them, and kill them all, and it's all found footage. Or it's ghosts
It's like Blair Witch.
Yeah, but it's you actually see the ghosts. I'm pretty sure this might be the one where it's one point they turn around and then there's just the orderly staff there, and they take one of the people, pin them down the table, and then do surgery on them and kill them.
I don't want to watch that.
Okay, I need to watch it. I just gotta find where I can find it, but yeah, it is interesting. And then there's Grave Encounters 2, which is some more interesting imagery, but I'm not going to show you it because you'll probably hate me if I were to show you that.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's not even on Shudder, which is disappointing, and that's where everyone watching some horror movies.
Yeah, so am I allowed to say what you're putting together on Canva?
Yeah.
So on Canva right now, Frank is putting together...
literally right now.
Literally right now. So if you hear his mouse clicking, that's his fault.
Because I don't know how to fucking format this shit. It's so difficult to get this looking good without paying for a pre-made thing. And fuck you, I ain't paying for a pre-made one.
Yeah, so he's making a list of his top... How many movies?
6.
6 movies.
To recommend for Halloween.
So today's the 26th?
Yeah, I hopefully will have it out maybe today your part, and maybe then Tuesday my part, because I'll do 2 posts.
See, I would love it if we did both of them today, because then we could do 6 nights of Halloween. Tonight, tomorrow, the whole way through Halloween.
Oh, wait. One post, my movie, your movie, and then next post, your movie, my movie.
Something like that, or all of them at the same time, but just give people 6 days to watch them.
Oh, okay, wait, okay, we'll discuss this after. I want to figure out, are you talking 6 separate posts or 1 post?
I was thinking 1 post.
Okay.
For all 6, but Doesn't have
Six
to be.
nights to Halloween.
Or we could do
6
5.
movies from each of us.
Or we could do 5 so that they can start tomorrow.
I'm thinking symmetry.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. So make the post 6 nights to Halloween, 6 movies for Halloween.
Well, 666.
6 nights to Halloween, 6 movies for Halloween, 6 what, huh?
Popcorn.
6 flavors of popcorn to have. Regular, butter, kettle.
6 snacks.
Kettle again.
6.
Double butter.
We could do 6 of our favorite movie snacks. Okay, so another night, after an hour or so of hearing a female's voice, one instance even sounded like she said the Redditor's name, which he did not give his name, so...
Now, hold on. I know what you mean, but when you said the Redditor's name, it only makes you think, said the Redditor's username, XX Killer 96, like whatever the person's like Reddit username is.
There's like Valpal or something like that.
The Valpal.
Okay, let me look.
I was just thinking of stupid Reddit names.
It's Valpal1237, so you can go look it up.
1237. I'm calling you not by your actual name, but by Valpal137.
It was 3 years ago, and it was in r/paranormal. So, anyway, so they also heard banging around, footsteps. There was running sounds on the hardwood floor as if there was something coming toward the group. And at this moment, the Redditor was sitting quietly on the floor with the group, and he was, telling them the stories and things like that, and he began to feel super lightheaded and disoriented. And not long after that, he began to feel this super intense burning sensation on his back.
We know what that means, right?
Yeah.
You got scratched.
Yeah, it was getting worse and worse as the night went on. And finally, he had had enough, and he asked a coworker to check his back for anything. When she lifted his shirt, she found what looked to be like a large 4-inch red mark. It almost looked like a scratch, and it stayed on his back for over a week. And he said to this day, that part of his back continues to get weird sensations on occasion.
Yeah, I would not like that personally.
Yeah. The literal next day, so that was June 3rd. The next day, June 4th, in the same part of the building at the same time of night, this Redditor noticed that his voice recorder had run out of memory. So he was holding that in his right hand, and he was using a flashlight in his left, so he could see where he was going, what he was doing. Suddenly, he felt a burning sensation on the underside of his right forearm. Then he did what he quotes as a WTF, and then shifted his flashlight to look at his right forearm, and he watched as 3 welts began to appear down his arm.
Ooh.
The Redditor says again that one night he and his coworkers thought it would be cool to see what would happen if they shut all of the doors of the ward. He reports that one of the doors, as he was closing it, was forcibly pulled closed after feeling the knob twist in his hand when he wasn't twisting it. He then proceeded to stand at the door for several moments, opening and closing it, trying to replicate what had happened, until his coworkers made fun of him because they were confused.
You know what? If my coworker was just doing something random and I had no idea they explained nothing, yeah, I'd maybe make fun of them a little bit. Would you not do that?
No, it's pretty fair. Another instance happened when the Redditor spent the night at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum with 3 other individuals who had brought a thermal imaging camera. They set it up, pointing it down the hall where they could all watch it on the tablet. They left a device at one end of the hall that would alarm if something entered the field around it. I am assuming that is... What's the one? What's it? Something calm?
What?
What's the little devices that they light up and make a noise when something comes the...
REM pod.
REM pod. I don't know why I said calm.
I'm like, calm before the storm? I'm like, what? Are you trying to like say a saying?
I have no idea. But they put one of... I'm assuming one of those, because it's the similar design, down at the other end of the hall. One of the guests that he was staying with was walking down the hall to go place that piece of equipment at the other end, and his body was showing up on the thermal imaging camera, obviously orange and red, to indicate that this was a real person with warmth and heat, and it was in the clear shape of a human body. After he had walked about quarter of the way down the ward, he passed by a doorway when the shape of a head, neck, shoulders, and upper body of a humanoid figure was seen on the thermal camera as well.
That's not creepy.
This shape was in cooler colors, like blues and purples, to indicate cooler temperatures that are typically associated with the paranormal. The figure appeared to peek out from the doorway as the guest walked by and appeared to be watching him as he put the device down. That's from him. And then there's some comments too. And I think he has a couple more things on there too. But someone says, we entered a room that was some kind of misbehaving room where two others murdered the roommate through hanging with the sheets or something. The second I walked through the doorway, it was like walking through a sheet of frozen air in the middle of a hot summer day. And I knew something bad had happened in that room before the guide told us about it. Whispered to my girlfriend that somebody died in there, and she asked me how I knew afterwards. Then we returned to the main entrance by the way of the long hallway on the left side. The guide had walked towards the entrance, and my girlfriend and I both heard a bodiless whistle going back down the empty hallway we had just come from. Later, we heard the exact same whistle in a video game, Ghost Hunter show, that had recorded there. So girlfriend denies that it was paranormal. They're hearing the same whistle both in a ghost hunting thing and also while they were there.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So someone asked, did you ever have someone come back and say they had something attached to them after they visited there? I'm talking about hitchhiker spirits who seem to follow someone home afterwards so they can continue to harass them. OP writes back, so there's one instance of note that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm leaning toward it being the summer of 2016. One of the guests on a daytime paranormal tour began to act out all wild, saying odd things and stuff of that nature. From what I understand, as I was not the guide on deck that day and only heard downwind about what happened, this man started throwing himself on the wall, and they ended up escorting the man out of the building. From what I was told by the owners and the secretary, he began calling the office every day, making outrageous claims, leading up to him claiming that the spirit followed him home, made him crash his van, and he was seeking to sue the asylum, but nothing ever came from it.
Interesting how that lawsuit would go.
Yeah.
So nothing came of it because you couldn't really actually, you can't really win on that. Like, how would you win? How would you show evidence?
I have no idea. Someone says, I did an overnight ghost hunt at Trans-Allegheny. The room where you heard evil, I believe, is the same room that I got an EVP that was not heard until replaying the recorder later. Only my sister and I were in the room. She said her name, and we heard a I don't give a ... which I would assume either damn or fuck was there. After replaying it, they said they also got some cool pictures and a lot of orbs, but the recording solidified for them that it was haunted. Those were the ones that I thought were pretty interesting.
Now, who all has investigated there?
I do have that.
Okay, because I'm interested in that too.
But I'm not quite I'm literally almost there. So since becoming a tourist destination for the unexplained and unknown, the asylum has brought in ghost hunters from all over the nation. Shows like Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters have both created episodes about the hauntings that happen there. But most recently, the popular YouTube channel, and personally one of our favorites, Watcher, that has Shane and Ryan, who used to be on BuzzFeed Unsolved, did a ghost hunt using a variety of devices to either capture footage of or communicate with the wandering spirits.
Have we watched this one?
Yeah.
When?
Not too long. It was this past season, I think. You'll remember it once I tell you what happened.
Okay. This is one where they saw the cat, but Ryan said,
No.
Okay.
Placing cameras throughout the asylum, they managed to pick up various unexplained noises like bumps and crashes, whistling, and heavy breathing. A camera in Lily's room even managed to pick up what sounded like a woman screaming in the distance. However, perhaps one of the most fascinating things they captured happened to Ryan, one of the co-creators of Watcher. He felt a pulling sensation on one of the pieces of equipment on his belt as if something was physically pulling it.
I remember now.
And the cameras even managed to capture footage of not only his jacket moving on its own, but one of the pieces of equipment on his belt moving as well.
I now remember this. You were right. I would remember the episode. We should watch it again.
We should watch it. That was crazy. Maybe we can watch that tonight since it's fitting. So I think I'm hilarious, right? And so I wrote, where's the asylum today?
Emphasis on think.
Yeah. Where's the asylum today? And then
in West Virginia?
I wrote, obviously in the same spot, LOL.
Well, I was kind of on point with what I said.
In all reality, though, it's there. It's obviously not the same as when it was in operation. The building and its grounds have since been mostly vacant, aside from local events such as fairs, church revivals, and tours. In 1999, all 4 floors of the interior of the building were damaged by several off-duty city, county, and state police officers who were playing a paintball tournament inside the building.
Like they were allowed to?
Nope. Nope. 3 of them were dismissed over the incident after
what
that.
The fuck?
Yeah, they were trespassing.
Like what?
Yep.
That's historical shit. And you're going to just be a fucking jackass?
Mm-hmm. Efforts towards adaptive reuse of the building have included proposals to convert the building into a Civil War museum, a hotel, or a golf course complex. A nonprofit 501c3 organization, the Weston Hospital Revitalization Committee, was formed in 2000 for the purpose of aiding the preservation of the building and finding appropriate tenants so that it wouldn't become a fucking golf course.
That was the option for a fucking golf course?
Yep, a hotel, a golf course complex, or a Civil War museum. Civil War museum I could understand.
Yeah, and especially if you use like the same foundation, then yeah. If not,
yeah,
fuck you. We have too many golf courses.
We're fine.
I believe there's actually studies that they are linked to Parkinson's.
They're like really bad for the environment.
Oh, they're insanely bad for the environment.
Yeah, the chemicals and shit that they use on them.
Yeah, and that's why Parkinson's is, there's some studies that might link it, but golf has a lot of rich people behind it who will make sure you bury the fuck out of those and nobody knows about them.
Yep. In 2007, the asylum was finally sold off in an auction to Joe Johnson, who has been working tirelessly since to restore the building to what it once was. The restoration efforts are funded through several tours that are given out every year. Since its opening as a tourist destination, the asylum has had more than 200,000 visitors from all over the world come and see the once great hospital. So today there are different tours you can take at the asylum. I did take the time to write them out so that you guys could see if there's anything you would want to do. So there's the heritage and historic tours.
Big stretch. Big stretch. Sorry, guys. I had to say big stretch because our dog did a big stretch, and you all know that's the law.
Yeah. So there's the heritage and historic tours. These are usually run from the end of March to the beginning of November. They are first come, first served basis, but they do not include any paranormal information. There is 7 different types of historical tours. They're all different lengths. Some, like, they all require reservations, things like that. There's also ghost tours, obviously. So there's 2-hour paranormal tours. It has the 4 hottest spots in the 242,000 square foot asylum. You get broken into groups, and then you get to go tour. There's daytime paranormal tours, which are an hour and a half. These are cheaper, obviously, because they're during the day, but they're still first come, first served, and they're available on-site only. You can't buy them ahead of time. Paranormal tours cover very little to no information on the history of the building, so take that as you will. There's also 8-hour public ghost hunts. It goes from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. And after a brief paranormal tour, you may either hunt alone or with our experienced ghost hunting guides. The guides are here to ensure that you have a positive and safe evening. Tells you to bring your own equipment. They also have a specific 8-hour public tour that's called Ghost Hunt Medical, Forensics, and Geriatrics Buildings. And that's the other buildings at the facility and not just the main hub where the other paranormal tour is at. They also have flashlight tours, just 30-minute short ones. There are tours of the historic Kirkbride building and some of the other buildings, half historic, half paranormal. They have the lobotomy tour, the morgue tour, and the seclusion tour.
The what tour?
Lobotomy tour.
Do you get a lobotomy at the end?
Maybe.
All rise end at the gift shop, the lobotomy shop.
Yes. They have Asylum After Dark. This is a main building ghost hunt. Check-in time's 11:30. You get released at 6 a.m. the following morning. You're divided into groups, and you just explore the 242 square foot asylum. After a brief paranormal tour, you can either hunt alone or with the ghost hunters, and again, bring your stuff. They also have Asylum After Dark, Ghost Hunt Outer Buildings. Same kind of thing, except it's for the other buildings that are on the outskirts of the property. They also have a private 8-hour tour. So if you're in a ghost hunting group or just want the building to yourself, you can spend the night roaming the building undisturbed by other investigators. Experienced ghost hunters have to provide their insurance, which must state additional insured Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and Joe Jordan, or we can provide insurance at the cost of just $250. So those are the couple things you can do there. I highly recommend. We have yet to do it, but we want to do it. Recommend going and checking it out. Those funds are used for a really good thing. It's keeping the property in tip-top, like in the shape that it needs to be, so that, tours and history can be preserved and still run. Any of those sound like something you would want to do?
All the ghost tours, all of them.
All right, cool. Same.
I want to do multiple.
No. So now for the popular culture. So it wasn't just on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures or The Watcher. It's been on a couple other things. It's been featured as a haunted location on Ghost Stories, Paranormal Lockdown on Destination America DLC, as well as Portals to Hell. Sam and Colby, who are other incredibly popular YouTube investigators, they also did an episode here. And then the Travel Channel's Destination Fear, as well as Conjuring Kesha. I don't know what that is.
What?
Yeah, Conjuring Kesha. Oh, it's like straight up Kesha.
Well, I assume that.
Yeah, it has a 4.4 out of 10 on IMDb. But it's a... Wait, what?
What?
It says Reddit, r/television. Conjuring Kesha, the pop star's ghost hunting show. TIL, pop star Kesha had sex with a ghost.
What?
I guess it's Kesha brings her celebrity friends along for a terrifying ride as she explores her cosmic connection to the supernatural. Interesting. The facility is featured in Bethesda Game Studios' 2018 video game, Fallout 76, under the name Fort Defiance, acting as a base for the Brotherhood of Steel, which is one of the game's main factions.
I know.
The facility is featured in episode 60 of the podcast Lore.
Oh, wait. I doubt there's mention of ghosts in Fallout 76. You said Fallout 76, right?
Mm-hmm. 2018.
I highly doubt there are ghosts in that then.
No, it's just the building.
You know what is it, though, in Fallout 76, real quick? Mothman is in it. The Jersey Devil. The Grafton Monster. Giant Sloth. The Jersey Devil.
You said the Jersey Devil twice. It's in there twice?
My bad. Sheep Squatch. The Flatwoods Monster.
Why?
They just like to put them in there. Oh. And some other cryptids are also in there. Like, they have a bunch of cryptids in that, and aliens. The Flatwoods Monster is an alien, but there are separate aliens, too. The Mothmen are interdimensional creatures.
Oh, you should tell them about the Ren Fair and what we got at the Ren Fair.
We got some cool Mothman merch at the PA Ren Fair.
Did.
We got a Christmas Mothman. We got a...
Mothman reading a book pin.
Yep. We got a Roswell poster and a Flatwoods Monster patch. And sorry if you hear Atlas breathing.
Yeah. He, has to breathe in order to live.
Yeah, typically, if he's sleepy and waking up, he goes...
I think he does it to get attention. It's working because Frank keeps looking at him.
I love my boy. Too bad.
Some other things. Daniel Johnston, a songwriter, musician, and artist, and was featured in the 2005 documentary The Devil and Daniel Johnston. He was a patient at the hospital during the late 1980s. The facility is featured on Expedition... Wow. The facility is featured on Expedition X, released on the Discovery Channel in August of 2024.
Sure, it's not Expedition?
Yeah.
Is that where they look for eggs?
It was also...
when I go to the store for eggs, I go on an Expedition.
Well, it was also featured in the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel Night Watch in 2023 by West Virginia author Jane Ann Phillips. This is a Civil War era story that is partly set in the asylum and explores daily life in the early days of its operations. So that is what I have for you for Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Do you need me to tell you how believable I think it is?
Scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, you're doing one of my 1 to 10 scales.
There's not really anything. Scale of 1 to 10 lobotomies.
What
do you do?
8 lobotomies out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 8 or 7 lobotomies out of 10. How many lobotomies do you give out of 10?
I was going to give 6 or 7 range. There's, we saw it. I don't know how Shane and Ryan would have messed, with that footage to make it look any less real. That was fucking real.
Shane would never.
No, because Shane doesn't believe in that shit. But yeah, that's what I got for you.
All right. That being said, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. All right. Well, then, thank you, everybody, for coming today and listening. If you're liking what you're listening to, go check us out on wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, follow, review, subscribe. Whatever it is, just do it. Really appreciate every little bit of support we get from you guys. It really goes a long way. Helps us out a lot. Please keep it coming. It's great. We love it. Now, with that being said, also, if you're on Spotify, you can also typically answer a poll on most episodes on whether or not you believe something. I put it on every episode. I haven't really been advertising it much. But outside of that, I would like to say check out our socials, our TikTok that I need to actually use, our Instagram that I do use but need to use more, and our Blue Sky I don't even touch. And yeah, I think that's about it today. So you know what? This is the last one before Halloween, so happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
And remember,
To look for
the unknown
the unsolved.
and the unseen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys. Happy Halloween.
Stay spooky.
Get a little bit of me.
Maybe don't.